welcome to the Coaching to Flourish webinar. And John's not here with us today, but I'm really excited because we have Ashley instead. So I think it's a blessing we've got Ashley today. Let's hear from Ashley. How are you, Ashley?
Thanks, Raj. You're so amazing. I'm great. I have some lovely green spearmint tea right now. So I'm excited to be jumping into this convo. I feel like I'm just feeling like relaxed after we just did that great conversation into this. So I'm excited to be here. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, me too. So for our listeners, we just did a bit of a mindfulness exercise, didn't we? Just got grounded, get intentional. You know what it's like when you're running from meeting to meeting, back to back. So we thought we would get grounded together. Mm-hmm. So we get lots of questions coming in all the time. And I just want to remind everyone listening, please do send us your questions. So anything that you're curious about, something that you're not sure about, anything that you need some words of wisdom from John, or if I can support in any way, so send those across to you. And I got a question to start us off with, Ashley. So I'm going to share the question and I want to see what your thoughts are on it. So this question came in and it is, why pursue a life coaching career?
Yeah, I think this is such a good question. And there's just so many answers to this, I think, depending on the person. My initial thing is like, well, if you're thinking about it and it's something that's been on your mind and your heart, go for it. Why not? Why not try it? That's like the first thing that comes to mind is if you're considering it, you're curious about it, then dive into it. Get a life coach yourself and you'll see how impactful and incredible that can be. Another piece of it too, it's just the transformation of self that I think takes place when you are on a life coaching journey. And so when we know ourselves and we care and love ourselves, we know and care for others and have more curiosity for others. So that piece of curiosity for selves actually overflows into every other area. So I always just think that's really beautiful. Our own work that we do benefits everybody else. It's not really about us. And that's one of the really beautiful things I think about going on the life coaching journey as a life coach. That is your role in somebody else's life, is to empower them. But then also you are empowering yourself by going on that journey of learning. And in return, again, it's the cycle of empowering somebody else in it. And so I really believe that choosing to become a life coach, maybe you're just curious about how to be a better listener or care for the people around you better, or be more courageous in your own life. Or maybe you are implementing it into your career, or you want to start a life coaching business. There are so many reasons, really positive reasons, to step into it because of the growth that it allows and welcomes you into. And you're going to be changed by doing a life coaching program. There's just so much you learn. There's so much you learn about yourself. And even now, having coached for a few years now, there is still so much I'm continuously learning and growing in. And it doesn't stop. And I love to be able to have this growth mindset and know others who operate in that same way too, to be able to show up and be able to continuously just be in a pursuit of growth, and also acceptance of self, that there's acceptance of self and growth continuously taking place. So yes, life coaching, why do it? Because your world is going to be rocked and you're going to come out a truer version of yourself. You're beautiful as you are right now, but there is just more to all of us that I think we don't even realize is there. And so the life coach journey, I think, can unveil a lot of that for us. And it just makes the world a better place when we're more curious and kind and empathetic to the people that are around us. It just changes. It changes us. It changes our tight-knit community. It changes our community in the area we live in. It changes then again the world. What do you think, Raj?
I love that, Ashley. And Ashley was one of the first people I spoke when I contacted Coach Training EDU. And you were the one that, I just spoke to her for 30 minutes and I was like, right, I've got to join Coach Training EDU. I've got to see what this program is all about. Because I could just feel your passion. And here I am still talking to her. So thank you for sharing that. What I was hearing from you as well is this personal piece. And I think, thinking about my own journey in, why pursue a career in coaching of any sorts. I think it was when I experienced coaching myself, and I know I've shared this with you before. And so I was in leadership and I was in diversity and inclusion, and we had some consultants come in, and I started to meet with them, and I made a really great connection with Chris, her name is, and she's my best friend now. And she turned into being my coach. But I was so interested and intrigued in what she had to say. And she had a psychology background as well. And I started coaching with her. And it was like magic. I mean, it changed my life. It just completely changed my life. And in not just personal understanding, but sitting here today, I wouldn't be sitting here today if I hadn't had that connection with her and started chatting to her. And I think for me, I always knew I wanted to make an impact in people's lives. My first role out of university was running advocacy services and qualified interpreter. And I worked with young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. But something about this was just pure magic, because she made it seem effortless. And now I know it's not effortless. Like, you have to do the training and put the work in. Mm-hmm. But just those light bulb moments that I was having. And I thought, wow, if I could just learn a little piece of this and be able to work with people, how life-changing could that be? And then somehow I manifested the leadership work that I was doing. And we actually brought in coach trainers at the time to train our health practitioners in coaching skills. So with the premise of, if you take care of your staff, they're going to take care of your customers. So for me, I'm all about all things coaching now. And how do we make coaching accessible to all? And I think even if people are not training to be a life coach specifically to pursue it as a career, for me, I think it's really important that all leaders have coaching skills. Mm-hmm. I think a bit like you're saying, it increases self-awareness, it increases that emotional intelligence. And I think leadership starts with self first anyway. But we have more leaders who are less about command and control and more about collaboration. They're actually going to build more resilience and resourcefulness within the people that they lead and manage, aren't they? So you have a ripple effect of more empowered people. You have a knock-on effect of people feeling valued because you're asking them questions and being curious, and actually impacts organizational culture. So you can hear that I've talked about this before because I'm so passionate. What are you thinking about that, Ashley?
Well, I love it. One of the things that comes to mind is I'm just so grateful that you stepped into that, because I know for a fact that my life is better having you in it. And I know that you've impacted so many because of stepping into that role, being courageous and saying, yes, like, I'm going to do this. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I know that would be the same for a lot of other people that are looking into it. Just the ripple effect is really grand. And so, yeah, and I agree. I think that, I think that's one of the really cool things working on the team with Coach Training EDU, and that's been so different, is that idea of growth mindset and having that life coaching perspective and curiosity on the team, the dynamic that it creates. And it's really, really lovely, and just really brings out, I think, the strengths of each person and challenges us in ways that it's really healthy and really good, to become, just, I don't know the word there, where I was saying with become, but just like stepping into more and seeing like, ooh, I'm capable of this. So what I was thinking there. So I love that. Yeah, I think having that in leadership is a really, really, really big deal. It makes a huge difference.
And I think, I know you and I've talked about this before as well. Actually, the pandemic, there's been so much adversity in it, but it also created a lot of opportunity out there for the coaching industry. Mm-hmm. I think organizations really recognizing that they need to be focusing on taking care of their staff, the wellness piece. We've got people working from home, working really long hours. So, there's opportunities out there. There's opportunities for coaches to launch their own business, but there's also so much opportunity now for coaches to be part of organizations. I'm seeing things daily. I get things in my inbox around, even full-time coaching roles, coaching positions, in learning departments and as part of HR, and there's business schools and things out there. And I think I worked so many hours, actually should have been taking better care of myself, but in 2020 and most of 2021, because there was such a demand for people wanting to put themselves first, and wanting to look at some kind of change. Mm-hmm. How do you think that affected even people coming through Coach Training EDU?
Well, I think people were looking to be connected. I could really see when we were all just so isolated, and people just wanted to feel connected and to really still know that they're known and that they're seen in the midst of really difficult times. And so that was a huge thing, and it was really, really unique and cool to see. I feel like a lot of our cohorts still really create a unique bond no matter what. But through the time of quarantine and everything, when you had this consistent group that you're coming to every week, and you know that they are going to be curious about you, they are going to call you to greater things, they're going to accept you as you are and look at the future with you, created a space of empowerment, but also just safety, I think, and security. When you know that you have people there, and it encourages you to keep going and move forward and keep building. I think that's something. So yes, I saw that on an individual basis, and then I am seeing also in a lot of corporations, or even a lot of startups and things like that, are starting to create positions for coaches because they're seeing this need. And a lot of people, when they went home and they're starting to see like, oh, I wasn't taking care of myself, or I want a little bit more of a balance and all these things, and the life coaching perspective can really help provide that. And I think we'll provide happier employees, but also just immense growth for whatever company is implementing that as well. Because again, the cycle of all of it, it really doesn't just impact one part, it impacts everything when you start to look at it that way.
And I am still really curious, Ashley, what led you to coaching, or the coaching kind of work in the first place?
Yeah, so I have always known that I wanted to serve women and work with women. And I thought that was going to be through becoming a clinical social worker. And so my plan was actually to go and get my master's in Portland and pursue that. But I had coffee with Amber. Shout out to Amber. She's watching this. She's amazing. She worked with Coach Training EDU at the time, and her and I had connected through Girls Inc. I worked there in Portland, and we went to coffee, and she started telling me about life coaching, and I'm like, what is this? I need this in my life. This is exactly what I've been thinking. And so I was like, okay, no more clinical social work path. I'm going for life coaching instead. And part of that was just the opportunity that life coaching gave me. 1 year, you don't have to be licensed in a specific state. With clinical social work, I would have had everywhere I moved. And I had an idea that I wanted to live a little bit of a nomadic lifestyle. I have done that. It's been great. But I wanted that freedom there, and just the relationships that you can create and the opportunities within coaching. My vision for serving women is in community, but also individually. So it just allowed opportunity in that area. And at the time, academic life coaching was the closest to what I was looking for with Coach Training EDU. Working at Girls Inc., I was like, oh, I can implement this into working with the girls that I'm working with. And then they started the wellness program, and I took that, and I was like, ooh, this is what my heart beats for. Just that whole person. I mean, all of it is whole person, but a little bit more of that holistic approach. And so that's really got me into it. I think just my entire life, I've known I want to serve and I want to help others and really love on them and help them see their beauty. And life coaching really allows me to do that. And not for me to try to make somebody feel their beauty, but to be in a space with somebody to help them realize it on their own. And that sticks. And plants deeper seeds and blooms pretty incredibly. So that's kind of what got me started. There's so much more, but that is definitely like what got me into it. Was I have a background in counseling. And so when I first came into it, I was like, oh, I'm good. Like I've already learned a lot of this. And then and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything. I have so much to learn. So that was kind of cool too. So no matter what your background, I say that to say like, no matter what your background, where you're coming from, there's a lot to learn in this. Like it can really stretch you. And we always have more to tap into.
Yeah, there's always more to learn and more growing, isn't there? Thank you, Ashley. Okay, so next question. So this question is, what tips do you have for manifesting friendships and family relationships through these controversial and confusing times?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I kind of talked about this with John a couple of weeks ago, but I'm really learning the power of community in the last like couple of years, and how important it is to have people that you feel like you belong to. And by belonging, Brene Brown talks about this. It's not fitting in. A lot of times we associate fitting in with belonging, but belonging is where we can show up exactly as we are and feel like we're okay. And maybe we're still challenged by those people, but we can show up ourselves fully and know that it's okay. So one thing I think it's important is to understand your values and understand what you want in a community and want with the people that you're surrounding yourself with, and knowing your value and your worth and what you want that experience to be like with others, and being curious with others too. I think that's something, especially with there being a lot of opposition and thought and beliefs and stuff right now. Curiosity is so powerful, because we a lot of times can create our own stories on what is happening or what somebody might believe because of what they said. And so being curious, if there's a relationship that you really want to sustain, but you have differing views, ask questions, get to know where they're coming from, their heart of the matter. And sometimes thoughts and opinions change, and sometimes they're pretty deep rooted, but there's an opportunity to be curious and still love others, even with opposing views or thoughts on things. And so I would say, yeah, tap into, know yourself, what you want out of a community. Who do you want them to call you to be? Like, what are you hoping for in community, and in relationship to others? I was actually just talking with one of my friends the other day, and I'm like, man, the people that are like the closest to me, they're all people that I'm like, I want to be more like you when I grow up. Like I'm so inspired by my closest friends. They are just their journeys, and that doesn't mean that they're perfect. It's even in their fumbles, and we don't always agree on everything, but they are people that I'm like, okay, I value your character and appreciate your journey and your resiliency and courage and vulnerability. And so I don't know if that totally answers it. I think it's putting yourself out there too. And when you understand yourself, or curious about yourself and then curious about others, it gives you an open door to relate and connect with people that might not be on the same journey as you, or might have different views and thoughts. And there's something so exciting and incredible about being in a relationship with people that maybe don't have the same viewpoint as you do. Now, I also think there's setting healthy boundaries and all of those kinds of things that people need to take into consideration. And there are certain people that might be safer than others to share that space of belonging fully with. But there's a lot of love and a lot of empathy and a lot of care and curiosity that is like beckoning us with other people that don't maybe align with us fully on everything. What do you think? I don't even know if any of that made sense.
It did make sense. It absolutely did. I was just thinking about, there's a running theme for you, isn't there? And it's obviously aligned to your values as well, around continuing to learn and grow for yourself and from others. You talked about being inspired by the people you're surrounded by. Mm-hmm. you talked about community, and I was thinking about both sides of what you were saying. So there's this side of learning from people who could be so different from you. And it actually made me think my husband and I are yin and yang. I mean, we've been in together 23 years. And sometimes people are quite surprised at how different we are. I mean, of course we must have some shared common values to have made it through here, or we've both got lots of patience. So, but we are really different. But together we make a whole. And I think one of the things that's great about that, and being, around him, or I've got some family members that might not be into the things that I'm into or interested in that, but it helps me to stay humble. It also challenges me to grow and look at different perspectives. And there's this piece of acceptance, isn't it? Understanding others' perspectives and accepting them for who they are. It actually helps me to release judgment. So that was that one piece I was thinking about. And then the other piece is as well, is with community. I mean, we do become the average kind of the 5 people we spend most time with. So like you were saying, what do you want from the group of friends or even family that you're engaging with? And I actually just came back last week. Was it last week? I've lost all track of time, from a retreat for 4 days. And it was a women's retreat, and it was phenomenal. And I actually went on it with people that I'd only met once the week before. So it was all for women. And I did that purposefully for myself. So I heard you say, Ashley, it's about taking risks sometimes, isn't it? And challenging ourselves from our comfort zone. And for me, it was a commitment that I'd made for myself to make time, because I am a bit of a workaholic. I can kind of just get my head down and get really busy. And a lot of the things that I've had to work on is sometimes I can have my walls up, or my boundaries of what I thought I've set are too tight or too built around me, or, like I've had trust issues before. And then the other thing for me is, as I do this great work, which is incredible, and my community expands, often the people who are becoming my friends are also people that I have been a coach or a mentor or a leader or a trainer to, which is great. And it doesn't mean that you can't have friendships, because I've got some great friendships. But I almost needed to do something for just me with people that didn't know me, and that I didn't have any expectations of myself. Like, I didn't need to be a coach or a mentor, a speaker, a trainer. I could just be a participant, just be me. And it was pushing myself out my comfort zone to go on this retreat. We all had like a common interest. Everyone wanted to kind of do hiking, and we had meditation and all of that thing, all of those things. But what I will say is a life-changing experience. I'm so glad that I allowed myself to be open and experience new things. And I've like made friends, and people are messaging me, and it was phenomenal. So I think the message for me is, as you were saying, think about who you want to be part of your community, push yourself out of your comfort zone, take risks, and make time. Every time I do my wheel of life, go and visit your wheel of life if you haven't done it in a while. Every time I do my wheel of life, and I'm like, oh, I'm not surprised. The fun wheel, the fun wedge, and the friends wedge has ended up being lower. And my mission this year is to take those scores up. So you heard it here first. So,
I love it.
You can hold me accountable to that, Ashley.
Done. I will. I'm just checking in with you next week, see how much fun you've had.
Yeah, make sure I'm having fun and making friends. So hopefully you all got a few tips there. And I know we got a few minutes left, so I want to throw in the last question, Ashley. You good with that?
Yes.
Okay. So, can aromatherapy play a part in coaching sessions?
Yes, I'm gonna let you talk more on this, but yes, if you've experienced aromatherapy, you've probably experienced some of the benefits of it. But it can really alter moods, and even impacts your brain and your nervous system. And so there are a lot of benefits to aromatherapy. But Raj, I know you have a collection over there, so I'll let you kind of share on.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the call. I've got sweet orange, lavender, sage. What about you, Ashley?
Yeah, I don't have them right here, but I was telling Raj when she brought up this question, I'm like, I'm gonna put on some lavender. It's very relaxing. When I sleep with lavender, I sleep much more deeply. Obviously, we don't want to be falling asleep during our coaching sessions. That's not the point of it. But sweet orange, or like the orange, is supposed to be energizing. It's supposed to create that kind of vibrancy. I love aromatherapy. I think that, I mean, I've walked into homes before and just been like, whoa, it makes me feel a certain way when they have a certain smell. You know, it's like, oh, this is like my friend Christina, somebody I can think of, in her house just smells so amazing. And you walk in and you're like, oh, like I can just release everything in this space, and it's so nice. So yes, I do have a good collection. I think that it can be impactful in a coaching session. I don't think it's something to completely rely on. Or if you have orange going and you're like, okay, then when the next client comes in, they're going to be so vibrant and so happy. And it's just like, you can't put those expectations on somebody just because of aromatherapy. But I do think that they can provide a space of relaxation and just peace when you have it. And so, yeah, I don't think necessarily they're to be relied on fully for the experience of a coaching session, but I think that they can be an add-on to the experience of a coaching session.
I guess it's thinking about, you can have it on yourself in terms of how you set your intentions. So for me, lavender is calming. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a tickle in my throat. Bear with me a second. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, you're totally fine. Yeah, I also just like things that smell good. I think it's just, and it can bring back certain memories or good feelings and things like that too, which I think could be really lovely.
I agree. And I think, I mean, I have a spiritual coach, so she uses aromatherapy in the sessions. So I think for anyone who wants to look at using it, how does it fit in with the service and what you're going to offer? So you might be using it to create a really nice environment and nice smells. You might be using it to set your own intention. But then if you actually want to use it as part of coaching, I guess it's to think about, what kind of a coach are you? What's your brand? Like, kind of what is the messaging around that? And I think a lot of wellness coaches do use essential oils and aromatherapy. So it might be that it's part of a program of work. You know, you might have someone who's come to you who wants to look at more balance in their life, or getting grounded, or more intentional. So how might that program of work that you're doing, maybe it's like a full-blown coaching program, it might be 5-10 sessions around that, where would the essential oils aromatherapy fit as part of that? I guess it does depend on what kind of coach you are, but I'm an executive coach and I work with corporations all the time, and I've got my diffuser on and I've got crystals around me and I've got all my oils as well, because it actually helps me a lot in how I show up and my energy as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And as you're talking to, I was like, I don't know totally the full science of aromatherapy, so maybe it can impact more than even what I'm saying. So, I think it's something, if you're curious about, like you're mentioning, kind of look into what specifically connects with what you're going for, whether that is for yourself or for your client, and implement it in that way. And I think having a conversation about that too at the beginning of your coaching sessions, if you are implementing it in a way that is to bring it into the actual coaching session, and you're designing the alliance call, when you're having a conversation about what the coaching relationship is going to look like, you can bring in that aspect and see also what they would enjoy. And that could impact too, if you're doing in-person sessions, to be able to welcome them into that space, to also help you identify what would be beneficial for them.
So the answer is, you certainly can design an alliance and think about how you're going to use them. So we're on time, Ashley.
Yeah.
Final words of wisdom from you.
You all are beautiful. I'm so glad that you're here. Those that are watching, I'm really excited for just where we're heading with life coaching. And I hope if you're not a part of this community, that I hope that you find one that you feel inspired and empowered in. And if you are here, we are so grateful for you. What about you, Raj?
just thank you. Thank you for being on today, Ashley. It was great to hear from you. And it's always great to hear different perspectives and have women leaders supporting each other as well. And I think so. Just thank you to you, and thank you to everyone for listening, and send us your questions.
Yes, please. We love them. These were such fun questions to review today. So Raj, thank you so much for this time. Everyone, take care. Have a beautiful week.
Bye.